Hello, welcome to our last and fourth coffee break session with the Licensed Trade Charity and Hospitality Jobs UK. My name is Dawn Redman. I'm founder and director of Hospitality Jobs UK, and I am delighted to be sharing my screen with the lovely Carolyn Jenkinson, head of client service, head of charity services at the Licensed Trade Charity. Hi, morning.
Hello, how are you? I feel a bit sad it's our last session.
I know. I'm very well, actually, very well, and everything's good. How are you?
Okay. Yeah, really good. I was thinking I don't need to do my biography because people probably will lose the will to live listening to it. So obviously I'll just say that I work for the Licensed Trade Charity and I love my job.
I love my job. Okay, but today, just to let everybody know, we are discussing how I got an interview, tips to prepare and be successful at your interview. And you're going to learn some real honest stuff here about interview. And I know you would take some great tips away. Carolyn, I think we've talked about yourself. Want to talk to us a little bit about the Licensed Trade Charity? I think that's always good for people just to remind what you do.
Yeah, for people that haven't seen the other sessions, which I hope you do have a look at. The Licensed Trade Charity has been going since 1793, so a long time. Our whole passion and remit is to look after people that work in the licensed trade, so that's pub, bars, breweries, distilleries, and wineries, nightclubs, and event venues, so quite a wide-ranging set of people. And one thing that I haven't said before, the definition of who we can help is anyone that serves, sells, manufactures or distributes alcohol. So I don't think I've said that before. So it's quite a good definition for you to know whether you can be helped by us. We recognise that actually in the last year, we know things have been tough and that some people have lost their jobs. So our aim was for us two guys to get together and actually provide another support mechanism for people to get back into jobs, hence our sessions over the last 4 weeks.
Fabulous, fabulous. So just very quickly, how did we join up Licensed Trade Charity and Hospitality Jobs UK?
We went to a couple of functions together. We are both supporters and help out with Only a Pavement Away. So obviously they get homeless people into work. So we both sort of helped in that sense with us with financial support and you with, you know, I think interviewed staff at Only a Pavement Away and help with the jobs board and a lot of background support there. We then met at a couple of functions. I think we've got a very similar outlook on life, similar sense of humour, both really passionate about what we do. So we then started talking to each other and I friendly stalked you until you submitted and met with me in a pub. And then the relationship started with you just helping with some help sheets, which are so much better now. And then we thought these sessions would be really good. And that's how the partnership was formed, really.
Yeah, exactly how it was. And so I'm one of the recruitment advisors for Only a Pavement Away and very passionate about the fact they're trying to get people into the sector. What we loved about the Licensed Trade Charity is how you look after people that are currently, excuse me, in the sector or have worked in the sector. So it covers every sort of spectrum. And I'm very surprised what Licensed Trade Charities do, all for free. It's absolutely amazing. And I know we'll cover off a little bit that later on in the session. So let's start. What would you like to ask me today, Carolyn?
I've got quite a few today because I think it's such an important part of your job process. So you've done all your hard work in getting your CV together, making your social profile really good, networking, and keeping motivated trying to find a job. And at last you hear that you've got an interview, which is amazing. But I can imagine if people haven't interviewed for a while, they would have mixed feelings. So they'd be like excited, but also daunted at the same time. So what we want to do is like learn what to expect. So my first question is, as far as I can see, you have like different types of interviews, some with recruitment agencies and obviously some with the employee themselves. And I was wondering if you could let me know what the difference is and what the best way to go around them both are.
Yeah, they are very different. So if I start with recruitment agencies are there to match your skills, personality, and culture to and your career aspirations to companies they have vacancies with. So when you're interviewed by a recruitment agency, you need to show your personality, excuse me, show your skills, show your experience to ensure that they can actually promote you the best way they can to that employer. So you need to be really honest, open with them. It's a two-way conversation, and it is different from being interviewed by an employer because they have to market you. So you need to share with them as much information as possible. For if you're interviewed by a potential employer, you need to be demonstrating your personality, your skills, your key achievements, what experience you have. So it's all around. They would just talk to you about their CV, your CV, but also from that you need to get your personality. So your agency, recruitment agency, is all about matching your skills and career aspirations to job. Your potential employer is about you getting that job.
Excellent. So when you first hear that you got an interview, what sort of preparation should you do before that happens?
Okay, so excuse me, first of all, you should have done your homework about the company. That's why you've applied for the job. However, if you haven't done your homework, you need to do the homework about the company, find out how many sites they got, what type of food they offer, a little bit about the culture of the company, prepare your route to the interview to make sure that you know where you're going. If you've got an interview with the company, I would thoroughly recommend you visit one of their sites beforehand if you get the opportunity, because you'll see the way people work. It's always good to name drop saying I went to the Dog and Duck, which was one of your sites. Also think about any questions you'd like to ask. Write those questions down. Can you bring questions to an interview? Yes, you can. Can they be written down or do they need to be in your head? You can be written down and you can bring them to the interview. Organise what you'll be wearing, not that day, a couple of days before. And then my last tip would be check the person out on LinkedIn if you can. And the reason why I say that is people go, well, I can't do that because it's stalking, or I can't do that. Most people will be complimented the fact that you did your homework. So if you can check someone out on LinkedIn, you'll know their background. It might be a case that you've worked at the same site or they worked at the same company 5-6 years ago. So it's an opener. So it's a conversational opener. So that's what I would suggest.
That's actually true, really, because sometimes it's quite a small world, isn't it, the hospitality sector? So that's I think that's a really good tip. Because if you know a bit about them and it's complimentary, that can only go well in an interview, I think.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Next question is, what would you say are complete musts and complete no-nos when you're interviewing?
Okay, let's start off with the no's. Start off with the sort of negatives and go on to the positives. No, your body language. Body language is really key. So when you're having an interview, you know, when you shake someone's hand when you meet somebody, it's a weak shake or a strong shake. Don't break their fingers, but give them just a nice big shake. Don't hug them or anything. Give them a nice shake and welcome in and smile. When you're actually having the interview, don't sit there laid back on the chair. Don't sit there with your arms crossed. Sit up. You're interested. You want the job. That's what you need to get over. Look at your dress sense. Look at your dress code. So you've been to one of their sites, so you know what they're wearing. So you have to dress the job you're going for. What I would say is, if you're going for a job as a barman or bar lady or waiter or waitress, and you're not sure what to wear, be safe. Wear a blazer, maybe a shirt and jeans, or with a woman it could be again jeans are cool. You just need to look at what everybody else is wearing. Think about your appearance. So think about your hair, your makeup, and your hygiene. Be conscious that you haven't had the night before loads of garlic, because you will smell and your breath will smell. But think about that. Make sure you do your homework. If you're not doing your homework, then that could fail you. And the last thing is being late. It's a big no-no. Do not be late. If you're going to be late, you need to let them know. They're the no's. So the yeses are arrive on time, look at your presentation, and knowing about the business is really impressive. So that you know, talk to me, you've done your homework. You know, I went to the site the other day and it was a fantastic site. I had a burger or I had a steak. Talk to them about the business. How long have you been there? Be smiley, be happy, be prepared. In both cases, make sure you turn your mobile off.
Yes, you don't want that ringing halfway through. That was really
and it has happened when I've interviewed people. I remember someone coming in and they had a can of Coke in their hand, and they dressed like they were just going to I don't know where they were going actually. It was so casual. His phone was ringing and he said to me, tell me about the job, and I looked at him and I said, you know what, I really want to interview you. Can you please come back tomorrow without the Coke can, without your phone, you on the phone, your phone ringing, and then I will interview you again. And actually, he was a great guy. He just didn't have that guidance.
Yeah, that is such an important factor, actually, just through lack of guidance, because you get the really wrong impression of them, and clearly the second time around, you were impressed.
Yeah, I was.
So
he was great. He was lovely.
Right out front in the beginning, then hopefully that won't happen to someone else. Right, how should you dress for an interview? You've sort of touched on that. Should you dress the same if you're doing an online interview as the same as a face-to-face one?
Yeah, I have touched what you should wear and maybe what you should do, but on a face-to-face, again, it's about body language, your dress code, your appearance and your hygiene. Should you dress the same if you're having a face-to-face interview and online? Yes, you should. However, what you should consider on online is consider what is in the background. Make sure it's quiet. Make sure there's no interruptions. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're on time again. And don't forget to turn off your mobile phone.
Yes, again, definitely. The other thing I was going to ask is, if you don't know the answer to a question, should you be honest or try and blag it?
I would say if you do not know the answer to a question, then absolutely just say, no, I don't know the answer. And just be really honest. Just say, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. However, be keen. I don't know the answer, but I really would like to find out about that. Can you expand on it a little bit more? Do you provide training around that? To just be honest. You know, people turn around and say there's got to be a bit of a blag. I always say be honest on your CV and be honest in the interview. But just be openly honest, say no, but I really want to find out about that.
Yeah. So I think I'd always want to prefer to work with someone who was transparent and was keen to bridge the gaps of the areas where they don't know stuff. So yeah, it's really good.
Absolutely, yeah.
Similar one, really. If someone asks you a question and you don't have the experience in that area, what should you say to that?
I would be honest again and just say, look, I don't have the experience in that area, but it really excites me, or I'm really excited to learn that. You know what? Then you can sort of turn the question around and say, I don't know. So, for example, if someone said to you, do you know how to do Excel? I would turn around and say, no, I don't. However, I'm really keen to learn Excel. Do you provide training on this? And then you could, and then it opens up the question about training and development. Or depending on the interview goes, you can be a little bit cheeky and say, if someone said to you, do you know Excel? I'm only using Excel as an example. And then you can then say, no, does it mean that if I don't know Excel? Or I would turn around and say, do I need to know Excel to get the job? Because I'll go out there and I'll make sure I know it before I get the job. So always tell them you haven't got the experience. The last thing you want is to turn up at a job and say you've got the experience. And if you say you've got the experience and they start questioning you about that, and then you fail at the questions, the continuous questions, it's not worth it. Just be honest, I haven't got the experience, but I want to get excited about it and I want to learn. That's what you need to do.
I think if you do that, you're going to come unstuck, and then they'll probably wonder about trusting you with the other stuff. So I think that could go wrong. Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
With the company that you're going to go for, is it all right to ask the interviewer or the person, you know, holding the interview what their management style is like and how they sort of go about things? Is that a good thing to do?
I think that absolutely, it's brilliant, and it means that you're interested in the business, you're interested in your career development, and asking a question. Can you just let me know what your management style is? What is the career aspirations? Is there a chance of promotion? If what training do you provide? People want to hear that. People want to hear that you're staying with their business and you want to grow with their business. So absolutely, asking, can you let me know your management style, is a great question.
Okay, another one like that a lot of people don't know whether they should do it or not is, should you ask about your salary at the interview?
Okay. So if you've come through a recruitment agency, I would say no, because the recruitment agency should have briefed you, and it's down to them to negotiate your salaries if you'll get offered the job. If you've applied direct, you should have an indication of what the salary is. But at the end, ask the question, but you can ask it in a way that you're not saying, how much am I getting paid? You could turn around and say, could you just confirm what the salary is? But also, what additional benefits do you provide? And they may talk about, you get lunch on if you're working in a pub, you get lunch and you've got dinner. And then also what I would turn around and just also potentially ask is, do I get paid weekly or fortnightly? So then it looks like you've already decided that you want to work there. So yes, absolutely ask it, but ask it in a way of, could you just confirm what the salary is and also what additional benefits you've got? That's what I would say. Yes.
What's the package and
what the package is and the benefits. And the benefits could be anything from a pension to even parking. So or uniform. So yes.
Yeah, because that can all add to your cost of living, couldn't it? Or lower your cost. Yeah. Another one. If halfway through the interview you think this is just not for me, should you say anything?
No, definitely not. Always, that's a no. Always be polite, because you never know when your paths will cross again. And you've got to understand, these people have given their time up to interview you. So you need to be respectful and polite. So if you think halfway through, it's not for me, remember, interviews are a two-way process. It's one, they are interviewing you to see whether you're suitable for their business, and you are interviewing them to see whether you want to work for them. So it is a two-way process, but no, just be polite, go to the end of the interview. If you get offered the job and you still don't want to work there, rather than just go no, I would return saying, but you want to work for the company, but you don't want to do that particular role. It's worth saying, actually, I would love to work for your company. After the interview, I realised that my skills will definitely match the job that I've applied for. However, I recognise that I'd like to go into your marketing department, or I'd like to be a host. So it's walking out, you've just, and people remember, it will come and bite you in the bottom years to come. It's a very incestuous industry, hospitality. So always be nice and polite and smile.
Okay, really good tip. The other thing I was going to ask is, with questions at an interview, should you keep those to the last? Is it all right to write down questions and ask? And also, from what I've gathered from you, there's quite a few different types of interviewing techniques, and it would be really good to learn about those from you. That's all right.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. So should you ask questions? Gauge the interview. If you feel there's an opening and you want to ask a question, and you just simply say, do you mind if I can ask a question? Or ask them the question. So what you say to them is, do you mind if I ask a question, or should I leave it to the end? Most people will want you to ask a question, but do not interrupt. If someone's asking you, don't turn around and say, hold on, can I ask you a question about that? That's again, about being polite. It's a two-way conversation again. So adding the piece about questions, depending on the level of the role, you and the person, if you want to take a piece of paper in with 4 or 5 questions on it, there's nothing wrong with that. Make sure it's tidy. Make sure it's not a screwed up piece of paper you get out the bottom of your bag. Just say, do you mind if I ask some questions? And when they say yes or no, then you turn around and say, I've got some questions. Is it okay if I bring my notes out? Type of questions, type of interviews, there's several at the moment. There's the straightforward face-to-face interview, which we all know about. There's Zoom or GoToMeeting interviews. But there's also competency-based structured interview. When you have a competency-based structured interview, don't be fearful of this. Basically, what it means is that the company's evaluated the job to decide what competencies make that person achieve the job and is successful in the role. So, for example, if it's an operational role, it could be commercial acumen, it could be communication, it could be a financial, and the questions will be linked to that competency. What I would suggest, if you get an interview and someone said it's going to be a competency-based structured interview, go back and say that you accept the interview. Could they please explain what competencies you will be interviewed on? There's no worry about asking that. So at least you know you can prep yourself with some question. There's two or three other types. One of the other types at the moment seems to be speed interviewing. So it's a bit like speed dating. So you have a line of about 6 managers or 6 people, different people, could be HR, could be finance, and these people speed interview you. They give them 5 minutes of your time or 10 minutes of your time, and they ask the same questions. That seems to be, that's quite a fun way of doing it actually. And then you've got 6 people's opinions, but they ask the same questions to every individual, so everybody has the same opportunity. And the other one is assessment centres. People, as soon as you know you have an assessment centre, go, oh, I don't want to go to an assessment centre, it's horrendous. But actually they're great, because it really, if you lack experience in one particular skill, but you are great at the other one, that's what an assessment centre will do. So again, push back and say, can you tell me what the process is in the assessment centre? How long will it last? So they may say there'll be a team exercise. Don't be nervous of team exercises. I know I'm going on a bit about this, but don't be nervous about team exercises. Team exercises aren't about finding, it's about finding the leaders. It's about finding the people that are strategic, that take a step back and try and help you, who know that they are going to help with the overall delivery of something. It'll tell whether you're a team player or whether you're a manager. So it's really, there's a lot of matrices around these assessment centres. And then if they ask you to do a presentation, don't be nervous. If someone said, I've got a presentation, I've got to do a presentation for someone, share it with your friends and family, share it with people to say, what do you think of this presentation? But my biggest tip on presentations, if you're going to do a presentation for a company, you put your name and date on it, because and then you put the company logo. Don't make it too fussy, put the company logo. And at the end of the presentation, I would then turn around to the company and say, would you like me to forward this to you? If you've done a presentation on a PowerPoint, make sure you've printed some copies, because if you've printed some copies, you can then send it to them.
Yeah. I also think with doing that sort of thing, they may actually find you the most comfortable role. So, you know, if they see you as a bit of a leader, or one of those guys that's always going to be a really good team player, I think then if they spot that, you're going to actually enjoy your job better, because they've spotted what you're most comfortable with, haven't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. Never been, you know, some of these people that when you're going for an interview, quite a lot of people are quite nervous, but also some of the interviewers are quite nervous. So I just think the best thing at any interview is smile, be happy that you're there. You know, to get an interview is phenomenal, and whatever interview you do, and you must learn from every interview you go from. If you're not successful, think, why wasn't I successful? Ask for feedback. Once you've been given feedback, then you can expand on that. So it's always really sort of a positive having an interview. So yeah.
Actually, I was going to ask about feedback. I'm guessing it's a bit of a no-no to ask feedback while you're in the interview, but is it okay to do that after you've left the interview?
You're absolutely right, it is a no-no. Don't ask for feedback in the interview. Afterwards, ask for feedback. But I would, if you really, really want that job, if you really want it, I would, after the interview, when you get back home, I would drop an email saying, I absolutely loved meeting with you today, really keen to work for your company, looking forward to the next steps. But remember, right at the end of the interview, always turn around to say, what's the next step? When will I hear? Because it's managing your expectations, it's prompting them to think about when they need to come back to you. If you haven't heard anything, don't think I haven't got the job. People are crazy busy at the moment, and especially when they start opening up, it's going to be busy. Just drop an email, just say that, you know, I had an interview the other day, I thought it went really well, really enjoyed meeting with you, love the company culture. You let me know if I've been successful or not. If they say you've been successful, then happy days. But if they say you haven't been, that's when you ask for your feedback. To say, I accept that I haven't been successful, which is a shame. However, can you give me some feedback so I can improve on my next interview?
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And then you sort of touched on it a bit just now. But if you didn't hear anything after a while, and they hadn't really sort of told you when the follow-up, is that all right to follow up?
Yes, absolutely. Everybody should follow up. If they've given you the time, if you've taken the time out for the interview, again, I go back, this is a two-way process. Then follow up with so if you follow up, say after say 3 days, like, you know, I'm really keen, really keen to work if you haven't heard anything. If you haven't heard after about a week, then I would again follow up. Never get grumpy on emails. Just turn around to say, I'm just following up on my email. I can imagine you're so busy at the moment. We'd be really keen to understand some feedback. But yes, definitely follow up, 100%.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I've got. There was loads of them, but I think
today.
This is, I know, I do like a good grilling, Dawn, but you've done really well. Is there anything else? You do know your stuff. Is there anything else I haven't covered that you thought of?
No, not really. Interviews are really daunting, and they are where people get so nervous, especially if you've been in a role for 15, 20 years. Just remember, it's just a two-way thing. The more time you give yourself, the more relaxed you'll be. If you have an interview at 2 o'clock, get there 30 minutes earlier. Oh, there is one tip I will say, actually. If someone offers you a drink, accept it. So even if you don't want a tea or coffee, if someone says, would you like a drink, don't try to say no. Just tell them and say, actually, I don't want a tea or coffee, can I have a glass of water?
Yeah.
It's there. As soon as someone meets you, they're interviewing you. So it's how you are receptive to them. So it's like, would you like a drink? Yes, I'll have a glass of water. Then your next bit, you go for a walk, then you start talking about, oh, the weather and how are you, how long you work for the company. It can actually make a difference from the interview. It'll make you more relaxed, but it could actually, at 5-10 minutes, getting that coffee or tea can be an icebreaker. That's where I would end. You've covered everything.
Okay. And then I was thinking, like, we've given lots of tips and lots of sort of planning to do with other people, and I thought it's probably might be all right for us to get some feedback as well about what we've just done. So I was going to, because I think, you know, we've been like spouting it all out, and I think we need to take it back as well. So I was thinking it might be nice if we could get some feedback on the sessions we've done, just in case there's something we haven't covered, because we could do a future session, just in case you know, we might have spoken too much about a subject. And I think it's always good to get feedback so that if we ever do these again, that we know how to do them better. And I think if you're all right about this, we would love to hear from people.
Yeah, absolutely. So any feedback's welcome. Any questions that we haven't answered, you can email. We've made this quite easy. You can email hello@hospitalityjobsuk.com. So that's hello@hospitalityjobsuk.com. Any questions, or if you want to email myself, or if you want LinkedIn, message myself or Carolyn, happy to answer questions. We will come back to you as soon as we can. And if there's a particular session that we haven't covered and you said, actually, we would like to hear a session on XYZ, let us know. If we can do it and can help you on your job search to get that job, then please do just contact us. That would be great. That's perfect.
Totally agree with you, Dawn. You know, that it is a big task trying to find a job. It is quite daunting. I think hopefully we've done a good enough job to make it a lot easier, less stressful, less anxious. But you're absolutely right. If someone wants to contact us, they can. And our email address is inquiries@LT, which stands for Licensed Trade Charity. So inquiries@ltcharity.org.uk. Hopefully we can get some whizzes to put those on a sort of text bit when this goes live. That'd be really good.
And before we go, Carolyn, don't forget, what is your helpline number?
It is 0808 801 0550. I sound like one of those people on Red Nose Day. We know they always repeat it, but that's our helpline number. And anything that's troubling you, you know, like if you're really stressed or anxious, don't forget about the employment thing. Anything really. We've been through so much over the last year, everybody. There isn't probably anyone that hasn't had a down day, and I would defy anyone to say otherwise. So, you know, bring on our helpline. We're here now. We've been around for 228 years. I can't promise I'll be around another 228 years. Some miracle medicine would have been invented, but we would absolutely love to hear from you. And just have a look at our website as well. There's loads of tips on there.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure doing these with you. It's been easy. It's a subject that I'm passionate about. We're both passionate about the industry. I hope to hear from people. I hope to hear from anybody, and just to give them any advice. And we will be doing, no doubt, some more sessions in the future. So watch this space. So have a great day. We look forward to you watching our other videos, which are available on the Hospitality Jobs UK YouTube. Plus, also they'll be on Licensed Trade Charities website and also Hospitality Jobs UK. So, Carolyn, thank you for having me, and I know we'll be catching up soon for that beer.
Cheers again to us.
I know, it's water. We need wine. We should do it, but 10 o'clock in the morning is a bit early, isn't it?
Cheers.
Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Yeah,
Bye now.
you guys finding jobs.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.